All right, so today we're going to pull back the curtain on a role that's, absolutely critical, but almost completely invisible in our digital lives. I'm talking about the database administrator. Honestly, these are the real unsung heroes making sure all our information is safe and right there when we need it.
Just think about that for a second. Your grades, your enrollment, your financial aid info, poof, all of it, just gone. It sounds like a total nightmare, right? Well, this exact scenario is why what we're talking about today is so incredibly important.
Because the simple truth is, we live in a world that is completely built on data. Pretty much every part of modern life, from school to work to banking, it all depends on information being stored correctly, organized, and available the second we need it.
And it's not just our personal stuff. Think about any organization you can imagine, a school, a company, a hospital. They all run on these complex, interconnected databases, holding everything from student records and employee payroll to all their customer info and every single financial transaction. This stuff isn't just important, it's literally the lifeblood of the whole operation.
So, with all this incredibly valuable, super sensitive data just flying through these systems, it raises a huge question. Who's protecting it? Who's making sure it doesn't get lost, or corrupted, or worse, stolen? All this critical data needs a guardian.
And that, my friends, brings us to the hero of our story. Let's formally meet the professional who stands guard over our entire digital world. Okay, first things first, let's define the practice itself. Database administration is the whole shebang. It's the entire process of managing, maintaining, and securing a database so that it runs perfectly. It's part tech management, part data bodyguard, all rolled into one. And the person who does all this work? That's the database administrator, or what everyone just calls a DBA. This is the expert who's responsible for everything, from the initial setup to the day-to-day security and upkeep of an organization's most precious asset. It's data. When you boil it all down, a DBA's entire job comes down to a simple but really powerful promise. They make sure your data is always there when you need it, it's totally safe from anyone who shouldn't see it, and the system it lives on is running just right. So how exactly do they pull this off? What does a DBA actually do all day? Let's crack open their toolkit and take a look at their core missions.
We can pretty much break down their super complex job into 5 main missions, and they all follow a really logical path. You start by building the system, then you secure it, create a safety net, keep it running fast, and finally, make sure the data itself is actually trustworthy. Let's dig into each one.
Okay, everything starts right here. The DBA has to correctly install the database software and tweak all the settings. It doesn't matter if it's a traditional SQL database or one of those newer NoSQL systems. If you don't get this foundation right, believe me, everything else is at risk.
All right, next up, security. Once the fortress is built, the DBA becomes the gatekeeper. They're the ones who decide who gets the keys to the kingdom. This means they're creating user accounts and setting up very specific permissions to control who can see what and what they can actually do with the data.
So, for instance, a DBA will set up rules so that only the authorized people in HR can even look at sensitive payroll information. This whole idea is called the principle of least privilege, and it's absolutely crucial for preventing snooping and protecting confidentiality. Now we get to what might just be the most critical mission of all. Backup and recovery. Look, things go wrong. Hardware dies, cyber attacks happen, somebody accidentally deletes something important. The DBA is the one creating regular copies of the data, which is the ultimate safety net for any kind of digital disaster.
And you really can't overstate the stakes here. Without a DBA and a solid backup plan, a system crash could mean that data is just gone, forever. But with a DBA, that same disaster becomes a temporary problem that they can fix by restoring the data from a recent backup. I mean, the difference is night and day.
A database isn't very useful if it's painfully slow, right? So the DBA's fourth mission is to constantly keep an eye on performance. They're fine-tuning things, optimizing the system, and making sure you get your information in milliseconds, not minutes. They keep the whole information superhighway moving at top speed.
And last but not least, data integrity. This whole mission is about quality control. The DBA makes sure that the information in the database is accurate, consistent, and doesn't have a bunch of errors or duplicates. Because let's be real, if you can't trust your data, it's pretty much worthless.
So we've seen what a DBA does, but to really truly appreciate their role, we kind of have to look at the flip side. We need to understand what happens when data isn't properly protected.
Without a good DBA, the risks are just huge. Data can get corrupted and become totally unreliable. Systems can crash, sensitive info can get leaked all over the internet, and the entire organization's operations can just grind to a halt, sometimes for days.
So let's circle all the way back to that school we talked about at the very beginning. It is the perfect real-world example of just how high the stakes really are.
In a school without a skilled DBA on the job, private student records could get exposed in a data breach. Anybody with a bit of technical skill might be able to go in and alter grades. A system crash could wipe out all the enrollment data with absolutely no way to get it back. It's a total recipe for chaos.
So it's pretty clear, right? The database administrator isn't just some technical role. They are a modern data gatekeeper, and they are absolutely essential for any organization to function and stay secure.
So when you think of a DBA from now on, just remember these 4 pillars that they're holding up. It's security, to keep the data safe, availability, so it's always there, performance, so it works fast, and reliability, so you can actually trust every single piece of information you're looking at.
And this all leaves us with one last big thought. Our world is creating more data every single second of every single day. The need for these guardians, for these skilled protectors of our most valuable digital stuff, is only going to get bigger. The real question is, who's going to step up to be the next guardians?